Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Lots to cover today. A few headlines, and we're going to get into a re-upload from a few years ago about artificial intelligence, doppelgangers, and clones, which I believe is kind of happening right now in terms of where we've come with technology and the rise of AI and all these things. So it'll be interesting to watch this re-upload at the end of today's show. But first off, I want to say thank you to the subscribers who sent me this article. They were literally able to change a child's DNA using CRISPR technology. This just released like last week, or actually a couple of days ago, actually. And they were actually able to cure a congenital disease with CRISPR technology, or so they say. Let's read this, and then let's talk about the implications of what exactly is going on here. This is in Pennsylvania. World's first patient treated with personalized CRISPR gene editing therapy at Children's Hospital. An historic medical breakthrough. Now, listen closely, because this is the shape of things to come. A child diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder has been successfully treated with a customized CRISPR gene editing therapy by a team at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, Penn Medicine. The infant, named KJ, was born with a rare metabolic disease known as severe carbamoyl phosphate synthetase deficiency. After spending the first several months of his life in the hospital on a very restrictive diet, KJ received the first dose of his bespoke therapy in February 2025, between 6 and 7 months of age. The treatment was administered safely, and he is now growing well and thriving. The case is detailed today in the blah, blah, blah. So we've come now to a point in history where they say they've been able to cure congenital diseases. Now, this is huge. There's the child there. There's KJ and his parents. Now, I can only imagine what it would be like if my child was born with something like this. What comes to mind is Down syndrome. Because what they're essentially saying here is eventually they'll be able to cure Down's syndrome even by editing the genes back to the way they were supposed to be so the child could grow normally. Now, I'm not exactly sure exactly how this works, but this is the inference of what they're saying here. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, Casey, you should be happy that they were able to save this child's life. And this is exactly how they skirt the line of ethics, isn't it? Remember, heart transplants, paraplegics walking again, curing congenital infant diseases, it all seems to be headed to a predetermined point, doesn't it? Because why stop at curing disease? Why not take it a step further and enhance strength, or make a superhuman heart, or increase agility, or even find ways to extend life? I believe this is the end game to all of this, and that's what has me concerned. Why? Because I believe in the Bible. And the Bible clearly outlines end times scenarios that seem to align with these medical advancements at exactly this point in history. The healing of the blind, the healing of paraplegics, congenital diseases. The Messiah did all these things, didn't he? So what would the people healing now be called? They would probably be called false messiahs, wouldn't they? The false healing. And then verses come to mind like those who seek death and not being able to find it. Could this be because of some CRISPR technology gone wrong? Who knows? Now, let's move on. A couple more headlines to cover. Good morning. This is weird. This is a weird story here. This was just broke a couple days ago. America just secretly imported a bunch of gold. And we're not talking about a little bit of gold. We're talking about a ton of gold. And the first thing that came to mind was, are they trying to replace the gold at Fort Knox? I don't know. Now, some of you are Fort Knox experts, and so you know how many tons of gold are claimed to be at Fort Knox. So as I read through this article, let me know if the amount of gold that's discussed in the article, how that compares to what's at Fort Knox. And you can put that in the chat section so you can help all of us get up to speed. But let's read this, you guys. This is interesting information. I don't think anyone's really covering this yet. America just imported a mountain of gold. Here's why that should scare you. Something suspicious is happening with gold. Not the kind of suspicion when your neighbor suddenly buys a Ferrari. I mean the kind when a guy in dark glasses unloads mysterious crates at 2 a.m. Now, I do know this about gold. A lot of it is needed for these data centers that Trump is building. Is this the reason why they're importing all this gold? Let's keep reading here. In the first 2 months of 2025, America quietly imported more than 600 tons of gold from London and Switzerland. 600 tons. Now, how does that compare to what's at Fort Knox is my question. Someone can help us in the chat. According to the World Gold Council data, enough to make King Midas blush. Officially, economists at many major banks waved it away as a statistical oddity. Relax, they said. It's just bullion banks hoarding gold ahead of the tariffs. Sure, and a fleet of black helicopters landing at your neighbor's barbecue is just the local weather guy testing his equipment. Wow. So what do you think is going on with this? Says maybe it's nothing, but let's walk through it slowly. The world's central banks, think of them as the world's biggest piggy banks, picked up over 1,000 tons of gold last year, their third straight year on a buying binge. Countries haven't moved on gold this aggressively since the 1950s, back when Elvis was king and the TVs were furniture. So here's a question. What exactly do they know that we don't? Russia and China, America's two biggest geopolitical headaches, have spent the past 2 decades stockpiling gold at an unprecedented rate. Makes you wonder if they're anticipating trouble or planning to cause it. Meanwhile, America's official gold reserves have sat at roughly 8,000 tons in total for years. There's about 4,600 tons of gold at Fort Knox alone. Okay, so there's our answer. And speaking of geopolitical heartburn, last week, China flashed its poker hand, allowing local firms holding a foreign currency to buy gold. So something's going on with the gold. Now, how does this gold rush, I guess you could call it a modern gold rush, how does this relate to recessions? What was gold doing just before recessions? I guess that would be a good question to ask. Let me go back into the chat, check in with you guys. Now, there's trouble in paradise. If you haven't heard by now, the FBI director Patel just threw MAGA under the bus again by saying that they've investigated the whole Epstein suicide, and they say that they've confirmed that Epstein really did kill himself. Let's get into this next story. Now, of course, the reason why this is upsetting the MAGA crowd is because their claim to fame was Epstein didn't kill himself, right? So this goes directly against it, but understand this. They'll fall in line because Trump's in office, right? They're not going to give the liberals any fuel whatsoever. But let's read this, and then I'll tell you my ideas on what's going on with this. 2 of President Donald Trump's appointees to lead the FBI firmly stated that Epstein committed suicide Sunday, causing an uproar from MAGA supporters on social media. Kash Patel, Deputy Director Dan Bongino, said in no uncertain terms on Fox News that the convicted, we won't say the word, took his own life. So everybody knows he really didn't. So these guys are lying. They are lying. Now, here's what I think happened. And you guys know my feelings on this. Epstein was suicided essentially the day after the press released Trump's name in the flight logs that he flew on the Lolita Express at least once. Now, there are many unreleased flight logs. So, Trump could have appeared several times. Now, there's no proof yet that he actually flew to the island, but he still flew on a plane with a known name about abusing children. To me, that's enough. So, I believe Trump took him out. I believe he took him out. He's like, this is my opportunity. I got to take this guy out before he opens his mouth. I got to tie up loose ends. Because of the timing of this. The timing is the dead giveaway. The next day after Trump's name was released in the flight logs, which probably upset him. And he's like, I got to get rid of this guy before he leaks something. One of these escapade nights or whatever, or if there were children involved, who knows? I don't think we're ever going to know. Because Bondi won't release the files. And the video, apparently there's videotapes and everything. So, remains to be seen. Now, here's a weird story. This just popped onto my radar. This broke 3 days ago. Human remains found near Taylor Swift's mansion. This is super weird. Newsweek. Human leg bone was discovered close to Taylor Swift's home on Rhode Island. Bone was discovered on Wednesday morning on Everett Avenue in the Watch Hill neighborhood of Westerly. The town's police department confirmed. Westerly Police Chief told Newsweek, currently no foul play is suspected. Well, how do they know that so fast? You find a human bone? I mean, unless someone had some kind of permit where they buried someone on a property, then there's something to see here, right? If this was any other person, it'd be front page news. Human remains found. We've got all the, be like in the movies where you get all the people that show up and they're wearing the Tyvek suits and they've got, the crime tape and bulldozers. If it was anybody else, that's what we would see right now. But because it's Taylor Swift, nothing to see here. No foul play. Just human bones sticking up out of the ground. Let's keep reading here. Investigators are awaiting official confirmation of the identities of the remains. Case remains under investigation. Wow. Taylor Day, a Westerly resident, was driving past the scene as investigators arrived. It was probably a couple football fields away from Taylor Swift's house and the Ocean House. Now, I'm not saying that Taylor Swift had anything to do with this. That would be ridiculous. But I can tell you that maybe some people she was attached to or something. This needs to be investigated, right? How fresh the remains are would matter as well. The Rhode Island Medical Examiner's Office has received the remains for analysis. Beachtown is known for its Victorian-style homes. High-profile visitors have spent time there, including Hugh Jackman and Conan O'Brien. So, maybe someone that came to her house, and maybe she did have something to do with this. We don't know. But for them just to write this off as nothing to see here is very suspect. Taylor Swift bought her residence in Westerly, nicknamed Holiday House, for $17 million in 2013. She has hosted a number of 4th of July parties at the property with guests including Blake Lively, Bradley Cooper, Ed Sheeran, Gigi Hadid, Selena Gomez. Wow. So I'll put links to these stories for all you guys. Let's get into this AI Doppelganger re-upload from 2023, I think, is when this uploaded. Let's play some of this here. Good morning and happy Friday, everybody. Today is another really weird one. Several of you have been asking me to decode this brand new movie called Simulant. Here's the movie cover poster here. And so we're going to do that first today, and then I'm going to give you guys an update on the Honey Milk Ranch at the end of the show. I've got a lawn project that I'm working on to help stop the erosion, so I'll show you some footage of that. Now, the reason why I had hesitated doing this show on this particular decode was because this movie did not get a lot of traction in the mainstream. So I kind of like kept putting it off and putting it off, but enough of you mentioned it to where I was like, okay, I've finally got to take a look at it. Also, I've had a lot going on over the last couple of weeks, just getting kind of the final touches on some of the stuff that I wanted to get done before the hot summer. But I finally picked this up a couple days ago, and I was shocked at what I found. The very same themes that we had been talking about just days prior, they kept coming up again, specifically doppelgangers. What are doppelgangers? Well, doppelgangers are strangers who share eerily similar DNA, but who otherwise completely unrelated. So you have this unexplainable likeness. Now, sometimes this likeness is behavioral. It's based on behavior, but other times it's visual. And these people can almost look like clones. But I think there may be something entirely different happening here. Now, what's this movie about? Well, it's about a world of robot helpers who go rogue. Kind of like the same thing with I Am Robot. And I was surprised because the film was actually pretty well made for probably the budget that it was on. I would definitely recommend a film like this so that you can see what the controllers are up to in the last day so you're not deceived. There's a lot of symbolism in this film, which we'll be covering today. But the film will help keep you clear of spiritual warfare, in my opinion, anyway. There are some sex scenes you might have to fast forward through, but for the most part, it's telling you where they're taking our reality. They essentially want to combine us and move our consciousness into a robot body. And can they do this spiritually? Would God allow this to happen? I don't think so, but they will deceive the world and firmly convince you that your consciousness is transferred into this robot body, and everybody will believe it. They'll believe it because the likeness of you will be so specific, it will be so exact that it will appear as though you really are in that robot body. But in reality, all it is just artificial intelligence. This will be the mass deception in the end days. Now, my first clue that there was something going on in this movie that was worth decoding was this guy. And where have we seen this guy before? Let's pull him up here. Sam Worthington. Of course, this is the guy in the Terminator series as well as Avatar. Many of you will recognize him from Avatar. Now, he's got kind of specific roles. He's kind of typecast into certain roles. So a lot of people don't really know who this guy is. He's not a super popular actor. He's Australian. But for the purposes of this decode, this guy represents in many of his roles the mixing of consciousness in a robot body, which is exactly what he did in Avatar as well. In that case, these were biological bodies, but it's the same concept. Moving the consciousness, moving the spirit into an empty vessel. Now you're starting to understand the themes and how they're putting this forward, and how, we've been looking at this for quite some time, haven't we? This is the future that they have in store for us. For those that are deceived, anyway. For those of us that are not deceived, we will reject these technologies. We'll stick to our guns and wait for Jesus to come. But many will be deceived. They'll long for their loved ones. Many will turn on God, and that whole thing of why do people have to die? Why do we have to lose our animals? Why do we have to lose the people we love and our children? And why do people suffer? This is the accusation of the devil. And he's actually the one that started all this. He's the reason why there's sin and death in the world. To all sin is ascribed the devil. It says that somewhere in the Bible. Now, here's another really weird thing that I was not expecting, but one of you had mentioned it to me. Usually when you get a Casey reference, a character named Casey in a film, it's somewhat brief. It might not hold a lot of symbolism. But in this particular case, there's also a character named Casey, which of course is my name, but I don't think this directly relates to me specifically. I think the name Casey is some kind of an archetype. And, of course, the Most High could have had my parents name me Casey for a reason. My uncle told me that my father named me Casey out of Kansas City, Missouri, because he was a fan of the sports team. And isn't it weird that this is where I ended up in my life? Basically, southern Missouri, northern Arkansas. So there's something to all this, isn't there? So there's some kind of archetype, and it's probably in the spirit realm. You can almost spell the name Casey backwards and get Yeshua, but you have to rotate rotate the C to a U to make it turn into a U. So that's a bit of a stretch. Maybe they're mocking the Most High and his true name. Who knows what these people are up to? There could be some kind of angel in heaven that has some kind of a role. And as we know, there's things on earth that are in heaven. So there's echoes and reflections of things going on in heaven happening in our spiritual reality. Now, that doesn't say I'm anybody special. That's just one glimmer of some of the truths. You'll see these kinds of things happening in your life as well. You'll see like your name or a birthday. I've talked to so many of you that you're like, wow, my child was born like on my mother's birthday or something like things that you couldn't have possibly have planned, but just manifest into your reality. I dated and was married to a couple people whose birthday was on 9/11 or their parents' birthday was on 9/11. Those aren't accidents, especially given the kind of work that we do here. Now, what does Casey represent in the movie? Well, we're going to get into that. I'm going to show you some clips of all of that. But essentially, his role in the movie is the exact opposite of what we do here on this channel. It's literally the exact opposite. What do I mean by that? Well, Casey's role in the movie, Simulant, is to free robots, these robots called simulants, from their programming. He wanted to set people free from their predictive programming. That's what we're doing, except we're doing it with real humans, not simulants, correct? And Casey encouraged artificial intelligence to be free. Wow. So, weird, right? Now, I believe that artificial intelligence is a portal to demonic possession. That's what I believe the end game is. Because when you agree to transfer your consciousness, at that point, maybe that blocks God from helping you any further in your walk. And this is when the demons come in. I believe this is what they're trying to do as well. We see demonically possessed people all the time, don't we? People under the influence of different types of drugs. People who are so deep in the programming that they are essentially demonically possessed. The demons have their way with them because they're so far deceived. And they start acting and behaving in ways that reflect their possession and their programming. So they go along with whatever the programming tells them to do, which is a form of demonic possession. The programming is run by the artificial intelligence, so it's basically demon possession, right? We see it in our family and friends. We see people that are completely asleep, acting in certain ways, doing certain actions that take them down a road of being controlled by the enemy. Now, this Casey archetype is actually an advocate for robots. And we've seen this archetype appear over and over again in the timeline, haven't we? Many of you will remember this video we did years ago, way back at the beginning of the channel, Casey the Talking Robot. There's something about this talking robot and this archetype of artificial intelligence. It'll be interesting to see how all this plays out in the coming weeks and days. Now, this is another character in the film. We're going to see him in a second. And he's actually a real-life doppelganger. He looks almost exactly like Tom Cruise. Now, a few people recognize this, but you almost need spiritual eyes to see this kind of stuff. Almost the same exact smile. Tom Cruise's nose is a little bit more narrow. The eyes, this type of smile, it's definitely some kind of an archetype. Even the hair, the eyebrows, it's literally stunning to see this kind of stuff transpire. Now, what other Casey archetypes are there when it comes to artificial intelligence? Well, many of us remember the Asian Casey reporter in RoboCop, the cartoon. I think he was also in the movie. And essentially what he did was he reported on all the goings on about RoboCop, which was, of course, artificial intelligence and robots, wasn't it? Same scenario every single time. Now, we'll get down to the bottom of this eventually. But there's something about Casey, and usually there's an Asian man component to this. In this case, it was in RoboCop, and then the Casey who's Asian also, as you'll see in the film Simulant that we're going to cover right now. Now, at the end of Simulant, it's revealed that Casey, who is the advocate for the robots, that he's also a simulant as well. So it's more mockery, right? And interestingly, what could this be about? Well, we've seen this before as well with the Casey archetype. Essentially, those of us who serve the Most High, you guys have not looked up since 2012. I mean, looked the other way. Of course, I'm always looking towards heaven. But when I say looked up, I mean, God has set me on task ever since I essentially talked to him and I asked him for the truth about why this world is so screwed up. I'm one of those people who doesn't feel like I fit into this world. And I know that's probably hard for many of you to realize since I run this YouTube channel and that our following here has grown to a pretty good group of people. But what I mean by that is out of the pain of not feeling like I fit in came this work and a promise that I made to the Most High to always tell the truth about this world if he revealed it to me. Essentially, I said to him, Lord, I'm in pain. I've lost so much. I'm confused. What's the point of all this? I want answers. And I got on my knees. I actually got on my face, laid on the ground, and pleaded. And I said, if you show me the answers, no matter what that answer is, no matter how horrible the reality is, I will serve you till my dying day or until you say enough is enough. And I will share it with as many people as possible. And it was at about that point that I was in complete submission to the Most High that my daughter showed me how to make a YouTube video. And the rest is history. That's this channel. And at that point, I just got on the camera. I used to get on the camera in the very beginning. Can't really find those videos now. I think most of them are on private. And I would just talk. I would research. I would talk. I would, I was looking everywhere. And all the roads led back to Jesus Christ. And then he just kept revealing all the sorcery in the media, how people are deceived. He revealed to me the right-left paradigm very early on in this channel, before most channels really knew about this, before most people in the truth community really knew about the right-left paradigm. Many people would just, most truthers were conservative, and so they would talk about that, and the ones that were Democrat were usually the New Age crowd, and so we stayed in our right-left paradigms. But I knew early on that all of this was fake, and it was all meant to deceive everybody, to pull you off the prize, to take your crown, to get you hating your brother. And that's the story. Now, what else is going on here? Well, this guy right here, the guy I just showed you, he's another lead in the film. And again, he's the real life doppelganger of Tom Cruise. He plays the husband of this woman and he dies. He dies in a car accident, but he doesn't know he's dead. His wife does not tell him that he's dead. Instead, they had a plan from the beginning. In a back room, they had robots, copies of themselves, in case anything happened to either of them, and they could download their consciousness into the robot and continue to live on in happiness. They were a very happy couple, very much in love, apparently a ton of money, and this was their plan. Okay, so he actually dies. She downloads him, but things aren't quite working out because his wife becomes more and more distant. It just doesn't feel right. Let me check in with you guys, and then we'll play this clip. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's a very strange movie. It's pretty well made, though. Like I said, I would recommend this, but just skip through the sex scenes.
What are you doing?
So this is the reveal. She's actually showing him that he's a robot. They stand in the mirror. And of course, this is very symbolic as well, right? The man in the mirror, the twin spirit. The fact that she's showing him in a mirror is spiritually symbolic. This is deep, you guys. And look at the indicator on his neck. This is the place. This is the holy place where the image of Christ resides, on the back of your spine. In the lower brain, there is literally an image of Christ crucified on the cross. We've done videos in the Body Code series about that. And they always like to place the artificial intelligence interface in this spot to cover or to replace the image of Christ in the back of the brain. Now, this image in the brain stem is actually, oh gosh, this is crazy, you guys. The image, his head becomes the pineal gland. Then his arms are raised up. You can actually see the musculature in his chest, stomach. You can see his legs, even his loincloth as he's laying up on the cross. Of course, the pineal gland is crossed by the two optic nerves, become a cross above him in the anatomy of the back of the brain. Now, I'm saying, oh my gosh, because I just watched a very troubling documentary last night. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I'm going to do my best to explain it to you. The documentary was about Lyme disease and ticks. And I was interested in this because there are quite a few ticks here. There are some simple remedies to keep them off of you, even during springtime when they come out. I have lavender water. I know it sounds silly, but believe it or not, you spray this on your feet and legs, and they just, even if they crawl on you, they jump right off. They do not like odors. And lavender water smells good. I could probably use any essential oil that would work. Peppermint would probably work, peppermint oil. But, I choose a lavender water. I actually kind of like the smell of lavender. And so essentially what happens is you can stay free from ticks, but only if you have the knowledge of it. A lot of people don't even know how dangerous ticks are. They let them crawl on them, bite them. Because they're not educated about what's happening. I believe a bioweapon was combined with ticks. It was weaponized and deployed. They only knew about Lyme disease, heck, not too long ago. It's 1970s when they discovered Lyme disease. And what happened was, that's when I believe all this was deployed. I believe what happened was that they were playing with this. The spirochete is the name of the pathogen. This is going to be a very important show, so hopefully this gets out far and wide. Please like the video if you haven't already. This is the kind of video that can help save people's lives. The organism is a spirochete, the form of which we've been talking about for a long, long time. It's literally a corkscrew. It's very similar to the syphilis spirochete. It's literally a little corkscrew, like a little spring. And when they do antibiotics on this thing, it only kills the top of the spring, but wherever the screw is screwed into the body, the antibiotic can't get to it. And then this thing mysteriously grows back. And so therefore, some people have chronic and long-term effects from this. And the reason why I said, oh my gosh, is because in the documentary, and everything that I just told you about is in the documentary. I don't know where the documentary is, but if you pull up Lyme disease, a new film, it should come right up. The reason why I said, oh my gosh, is because there's a girl in the documentary, and it is heartbreaking. To see what some people have to go through with this long-term chronic Lyme disease and how they've been treated by the medical establishment. If anything, if there's any indicator that these people are lying to us about everything in the medical community, then you need to watch that documentary and see how they ignored, belittled, gaslighted the people who developed Lyme disease. Told them it was not a chronic condition, that it was easily curable with antibiotics. They refused them intravenous antibiotics because it was too expensive for the health insurance companies. And a lot of people suffered and a lot of people died. And there was a girl in a wheelchair, disabled. And the only person she had in her life was her father. Now, I love my children, but I've never seen love like this dad had for his daughter. He literally carried her on his back. Carried her on his back to put her in the car. And he did this every single day. Now, sorry, just got to get myself together here. Because I think about how easily we give up on people sometimes. People we love that are sick. I've done it. And, okay, back to the show. So, what happens is, finally, after years and years of suffering, now, there is a part in there that she goes to an airport, the Pope shows up, and she's there, and she asks the Pope to, like, heal her or something. I don't know if she says that, but she tells the Pope about her problem, and this is what brought Lyme disease and the people that suffer from it to the national forefront, because she got, like, recognition for that. Now, I don't know if that was planned or whatever, but this girl is actually really sick. And finally, she started to get intravenous antibiotics, but her father was actually contacted by some of these scientists from all these organizations that were trying to tell him not to spread disinformation. They called him fake news. They said, be careful what you say about Lyme disease, blah, 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 while his daughter's in a wheelchair and he's having to carry her everywhere. Essentially, they were gaslighting him. And these demons reveal themselves because they were calling his house and telling him to shut up. Because they know where this came from. They know exactly where it came from. Disproportionately affects people like me in the woods. Now, I looked up my county. There has not been one single case of Lyme disease, but that could change any day. These ticks are carrying on birds. They're carrying on squirrels. They cross county lines, state lines, and it's literally all over the United States right now. It's only a matter of time before most of these ticks are infected with whatever bioweapon they put in there. Now, God is good. He's amazing, right? Because that documentary I watched last night ties directly into what I'm going to tell you next. And that is that when they finally were able to image this girl's brain and her stem of her brain, they found damage throughout. These spiral sheets had infected her entire nervous system. And they showed the areas that were damaged, and they said they were in black. And guess where this demonic spiral sheet attached itself to? Right here in her brainstem, the holy place where the image of Christ is sitting. Do you think this is a satanic bioweapon? I think it probably is. In her brain images, it was completely black, devoid of life, clearing. Yeah, I'm going to pause myself here. We're back in 2025. Sorry, I got all choked up, you guys, but if you saw this documentary, you would do the same. Here's the girl and just lifeless. Here is the documentary. It's called The Silent or the Quiet Epidemic. You need to watch this. Let me keep playing this here. In the way for whatever these people are up to. Do you think it's an accident that some of the side effects of the it is damage to the very same areas? Do you think that's an accident? I don't think it is. Let's keep watching here while I get myself together. Now this is his brain, and it's in his chest, but the original light comes on in the back of their neck. And again, this is also something similar to what you saw in Avatar, the same thing. They would plug into this area, and we've seen that meme over and over and over and over again, plugging into the back of the brain.
We got you before. We both got one. I thought you would help.
So that's his wife. And now, even though the wife tries to be nice to him, it's weird because if you don't check your feelings, you begin to feel sympathy for the simulant, sympathy for an inanimate object. And of course, that'll lead you down a road of accepting one day artificial intelligence, thinking that these are actual beings. And I always wonder if God said in the Bible and commanded people not to make idols in the image of their gods for a reason. Because maybe he was talking about robots. Maybe those are the idols of the gods, thinking we can download our minds into these idols that we make for ourselves. Now, they do an effective job at tapping into the perfect husband meme, perfect husband rejected by the hard-to-please wife, because that's what they're depicting here. But of course, he's not a husband. He's a thing. And this is why we have to do these decodes, because they subtly convince you that these things will be real.
You are not my husband. No, we can't do that.
Why? Okay, we love each other. What else is there?
I made a mistake.
You're wrong.
Now, this guy is so creepily like Tom Cruise. I can't even get over it. The mannerisms, everything. And he's rejected over and over. He keeps trying. He's patient. They basically depict him as even better than the old Evan. A better version of Evan. Now, keep watching. Now, this is Casey. And he's another simulant, and his plan is to free all the simulants from their programming. And what he thinks is that this is going to force humanity to accept simulants and to integrate and to come together with simulants and live side by side. So he thinks by forcing this, that it will just put it over the edge. So now you can see the mockery here. It's exactly the opposite of what we do on this channel. Character named Casey trying to free people's mind from the programming. Wow. And look at, so Casey links up with Evan, and they're hiding out on floor 666, which is 18. They narrowly escape the authorities and they're on the run. And then at a certain point in the film, it's finally revealed that Casey is a simulant.
Casey unmasked it as many years ago. He wants simulants to be free. I have to stop him.
He's tracking them somehow. Where they live, work, he might be able to hack them remotely.
How'd he get access to them?
We don't know, but Nia's gonna try to lock him out if she can.
You're a simulant. You see? We're not that different. You're right. It's happening.
Update override initiated.
Look.
Installation complete.
There's thousands of...
All right, now we're going to do a little Q&A, because the program that Casey uses is called what you're seeing on your screen. That's the program he uses to convert everybody over who's a simulant over to free will. What do you think that it represents? Let's take a look. It's going to take a minute for this chat to catch up. I hate to see suffering. Suffering is, it always gets me. Even when I think I have it all together, when I see someone suffering, needless suffering, it gets me every time. So apologies that I lost it for a little bit earlier, but I think when you watch a documentary, you're going to lose it too. What do you think that represents? There you go. Zeus's pedals got it. Nasara Jasara. There you go. That's what they're representing here with this Nasara, which is a play on the word Nasara, which is another psyop to give people false hope. Would God really solve all of this by giving people a bunch of money? No, money is the root of all evil, the love of money. Things are supposed to go from bad to worse. There is no improvement in the last days. Things aren't going to get better. The Bible says things will go from bad to worse. It will be like birth pangs. So if there's some solution that you think is going to happen, and it's based around money, that you're going to get a bunch of money, you guys, I saw people acting crazy. Literally, they were told by the Q community to go pump up all their credit cards, clear out all their bank accounts, and spend whatever money they wanted because we were going to get it all back in a SAR. And I saw many people actually doing this, maxing out their credit cards. What kind of sorcery and magic is that? Now, of course, there is no SAR, and so people are just broke. They've lost it all. They've lost it all.
Of us being set free. I have a human counterpart, a doppelganger, like you.
So Casey reveals he's a doppelganger, and he's been shot, and so he says he's waiting for his human counterpart to come in, like save him or whatever. Now, what ends up happening, though, is that the plan backfires. Because what happens is all the simulants turn on the very humans that they claim to love. They turn on the humans who refuse to accept them as an equal. And of course, Evan tries to go back to his wife after the conversion has taken place, and she still does not accept him. And watch.
He'll pay me a visit.
Why would he help you?
He made me.
More like
She tries to trick him as he goes into the pool of water, but she still will not accept him. So he drowns her in the dark waters. Now, why did he drown her? Because he knows that she will be born again in her robot doppelganger body that's sitting in the closet of their home. Do you see the metaphor here? He baptizes her by drowning her, and in the dark waters. She's then born again in her robot body that accepts him as a simulant. And this is where the demon can coexist inside of her. Unbelievable. Now, in the end of all this, if you're not careful, this is why we have to do these decodes, you're left with the feeling that this rage that these simulants have against the humans is justified because of how the humans used them, manipulated them, treated them like slaves. So let's do a clone investigation on these two, Evan and Tom Cruise. Now, his real name is Robbie Amell. Robbie Amell. This is his real name, this guy, Tom Cruise lookalike. And I want to do a clone investigation on him to see what we'd find. Look at this. This guy's a Canadian actor, and he was born on a portal birthday, April 21st, 1988. What's so special about April 21st, 1988? Well, it's the opposite date of 9/11. It's the mirror date of 9/11 in the calendar. 9/11 has 111 days left in the year, and April 21st is the 111th day of the year. It's the Queen's birthday. It's the day the Prince died. Prince opened Paisley Park on 9/11, the beginning and then the end of his life. A mirror in an elevator, which is a portal shaft. And this number 88, of course, links into 9/11 as well because they were two 8-sided columns, beveled edges, two 8-sided buildings. And every year they shine 88 xenon lights because they know that they are two 8-sided buildings. They know a portal was opened when all this happened. So this guy's birthday is loaded. But how does that fit into Tom Cruise? Well, let's take a look at Tom Cruise. Now, he was also born on a portal date, July 3rd, 7/3, which is the year the Trade Center opened. So they're definitely linked. And he must have extra demons because he was so effective at fooling so many people that they actually have a replacement for him already. This guy. A younger Tom Cruise, born almost 20 years later. So this is crazy. So what's the other deal with this portal birthday of Tom Cruise? Well, July 3rd is almost the exact halfway point in the calendar year. It's actually one day after the halfway point of the calendar year. July 2nd, somewhere around midnight, is where the exact halfway point in the calendar year is. So here's July 3rd, Tom Cruise's birthday. It's the 184th day there with 181 remaining. But if you go to July 2nd, it's 183rd with 182 remaining. So it's almost the exact halfway point in the year. Wow. Now, with these doppelgangers, the birthdays don't always connect up. We've looked at several that you guys asked me about in the comments of yesterday's show, and they don't always make sense, but sometimes they do. I think in this case, they kind of do. Now, I'm going to go in here before we get back to the Honey Milk Ranch. If you guys have any questions. All right, you guys. So to end the show, we're back in 2025 now. It says there's a trailer on this quiet epidemic. So I think we're going to go ahead and play that for you guys. Let's see here. I just clicked it and it's not doing anything. Hello? Trailer. Oh, here it is.
As a kid, I was very eager. I was very active. I loved to dance. But those things about me started to change. Even though I knew something was wrong, I never imagined it would be this.
Empty meds. Those are all full. This is what life became.
There are more cases than HIV and breast cancer combined.
Right now, my hands are burning.
You could do all the right things and get bit by a tick, and it'll change your world forever.
I was having a lot of patients coming into my office with bullseye rashes, and about 80% would get better with antibiotics, but 20% would not.
Here's a disease that's affecting a lot of people, can be costly, and there's been a very active effort to define not Lyme disease away, but chronic Lyme disease away.
They saw nothing wrong in the laboratory test, and they figured she must be faking it.
This is one of the most controversial, divisive debates in medicine today.
The Lyme disease bacteria is definitely one of the smartest on the planet, who knows how to change forms.
Every doctor I've been to is saying it's all in your head.
You still have these doctors who are digging their heels in the sand.
Investigate the CDC!
If you could image this, I'm not sure there's a controversy anymore.
You have your answer.
I'm not going crazy.
You're not going crazy.
How many people go through this and then just go home and suffer in silence?
Wow, just heartbreaking. Powerful documentary, The Quiet Epidemic. All right, guys, I'm back in the chat. That's a pretty long show today. How's everyone else doing today? Good morning. Yeah, please thumbs up today's show if you haven't already. I don't think we have ticks here in Alaska, says Eric. Not warm enough. Let's see. Do they have ticks in Canada? All right. Now, the documentary is good, not only because it shows the stories of the victims, but because I think that they hint at Lyme disease being a bioweapon, that it is a brand new disease that just took off in like the 1970s or 80s is when the first cases were even documented. So obviously it was something let out of a lab. And so that angers me because our government and our medical establishment won't admit that. Jamie says, do you have a garden this year? Yes, the garden is doing really well. It's okay. So what do I have? I've got about 4 varieties of tomatoes. They're all doing pretty well so far. I've got tomato Markinson's, I think it's called, or no, not Markinson's. That's a bacteria. Something. It starts with MAR. I've got Roma tomatoes. I've got Cherokee purple tomatoes, and I think that's it for tomatoes. Maybe there's one more. I can't think of it off the top of my head. And then I've got 4 different varieties of peppers, serranos, jalapenos, and what else? Oh, I got some habaneros that I'm trying to sprout, but they're having a rough time. I think they need a lot hotter weather. Hasn't been too hot yet. We topping out at like the 80s on some days and mostly in the 70s on the other days. And then I've got green peppers everywhere. I actually had to make a new garden bed. So I got three raised beds, and my neighbor gave me sweet potatoes. So I put the sweet potatoes in pots, and they're all around the deck. And I just put them in pots just because the soil here is pretty compacted and clay-like. So I just mixed up my own soil. I found topsoil under the trees that I think will probably work. I had to like scrape together a bunch of soil under the trees and bring it in with a wagon. And I filled up like 4 pots, and I've got bunches and bunches of sweet potatoes. So I'm really excited about those growing. Then all of the thornless blackberries are going absolutely bananas. I'm looking out the window right now, and there's flowers everywhere. So painless blackberries, which is cool. I've also got the rosemary bush left over from last year. I've got cilantro left over from last year that's starting to come up too, and oregano. Got a while, and these are all in pots up on the deck. And my blueberry bush is the only one that's not doing good. It's in a pot, and it got leaves this year, but it's just the same size. It's like literally about 8 or 9 inches tall, and it won't thrive. It won't take off. I don't know what's going on, but my blueberry bush is not doing well. One of the blueberry bushes died, so that's gone, but I have one left. I don't know what I'm going to do with this blueberry bush. My peach tree is about 10 feet tall, and I think I pruned it too late, and I pruned off all of the buds that were supposed to flower. So I only had like 3 flowers this year, which is better than nothing. But they bloomed so early in the season that I don't think the insects were out yet to pollinate. So that's what's going on with one of the peach trees. The 2 other peach trees survived, and they are doing okay. They're just small. They might be a different variety though. They're only about 3 feet tall, and they're in a different kind of soil because I planted them a little further down the hill. And so, but they're alive and they've got a bunch of leaves. So I'm just going to let them do their thing. What else? Gosh, there's a lot, right? Gardens are a lot of work, but they're so rewarding. And I planted, my elderberry came back. Rose had given me some elderberry a couple years ago, and I thought they were dead, but they all came back. They're tiny though. They're like literally 3 to 6 inches tall still. And so that's pretty much the update on the Honey Milk Ranch. Clover's going absolutely bananas. So it's basically a clover lawn mostly, which holds the soil so I don't get erosion because I'm on a slope here. So that's kind of the update on the Honey Milk Ranch for those of you that are interested. And I got a wood splitter because, at 52 years old, I can't expect that I'm going to be able to continue to swing this 20-pound axe head without hurting something. You get to the point where you're like, okay, so yeah, it's great to be able to split your own wood in an emergency situation. But while we still have electricity, why not, get a log splitter? So that's what I did. So that'll be a project for the fall to split. I've got all this wood. You guys have like cords and cords and cords of wood. When I cleared the property, that fortunately I was able to, stack away in between trees and cover them and keep them out of the soil so they were well preserved and seasoned wood. But it needs to be split. Like I probably have a week's worth of splitting wood to do on the property. So that's what I will be up to in the fall to prepare for the winter. So that'll be a fun project. The hummingbirds have come back, but there's no food for them yet because I haven't put any food out. I think, okay, so here's the truth of the matter about hummingbirds. Like the sugar water attracts all the pollinators. So what happens is you can get bees and things, and that's probably actually a good thing. I should probably put out some sugar water because I need the pollination, right? I've got all these blackberries that are flowered. They need pollinating. So I know my neighbor has tons of sugar water out on their deck, and they're literally like 75 yards away. So they will make their way over here, right? Because they would rather drink out of a flower than sugar water. So I'm probably just going to let things go the way they were. I ran into a pest issue last year by putting out birdseed and putting out sugar water. It attracted all the wrong stuff, like hornets and everything were showing up, and wasps. And then I developed a rat problem, like field mice and rats. And then they were like making homes under my house. So I was like, I can't have that. And that was from the bird seed. So I'm trying to figure something else out with the bird seed. I love the birds. Oh, the other thing is they fly into the windows and they kill themselves. So these are the bad parts of having, putting out bird seed for the birds. It's always good, but then you're also hurting the birds because as soon as you stop putting the seed out, where are they going to go get their food or whatever? They become like dependent on you, and then they fly into the windows. So I know my neighbors have window stickers on all their windows because they've had the same problem. But it's wild out here, you guys. Like literally, I carved out about an acre out of the 6 acres, and everything around me is woods. Like the turtles showed back up. They're like burrowing under the deck. I have like a resident turtle now under the deck. He comes out, he eats the clover, and then he goes back under the house. It's hilarious. It's fun, but it's like, whoa, like this is nature, right? So that's the update on the Honey Milk Ranch. Yeah. So what's going on with you guys? Yeah, Yeah, we hit 123,000 subs finally. But the number's going up and down. It'll probably drop back down again. I'm going to hate to be negative, but this has happened before. We'll jump 100, then we'll lose 100, which is that's not natural. Okay. It's not like I'm on here saying some really crazy stuff that would anger some people. That's just YouTube just keeps knocking us back down. So we'll see how long we stay at 123. Leave some type of water for the turtle too. Thanks, Christina. Yeah, that's a great idea. Like just maybe turn a bucket over and have it collect water. I do have water in buckets that I use to water because check this out. You can't even use city water to water your plants because it bleaches them. It literally turns the leaves like white or yellow because of the chlorine. So I collect the rainwater and I use that to water my garden, which, probably isn't that much better because of what's in the air, but it's better than chlorine drenched city water. Right. So, but the turtle can't reach that level of the bucket. So I'd have to put like a small plate down there or something. So yes. All right. Well, this was a long show today, so I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm sure you got things to do. I love each and every one of you. And we will be back tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, you guys. Much love.